Yo, once again, we back with the beautiful, the lovely, what I call a beautiful mess sometimes. This, that, and the third podcast. I'm back with episode 9. I had tons of difficulties on two other podcasts, which I have highlighted in my last episode. But today, I always love to have the pleasure of hearing from not only my friends, those who I've had the privilege of calling a friend, those I can like call on for if I'm stuck in situations or whatever I may have going on with the business that you can just talk to, really connect with. But and that's what I had the pleasure of today. But also when you have like women in real estate, I love to highlight those that's of the women because that for one, then they are the less. It just I don't know what that is, just a natural order stuff. I don't know whatever you call that, but it's definitely not. They definitely doing some amazing stuff. Like it's so many I can highlight, but the one I want to talk about today, right? And you're gonna hear part of her story. I think I'm gonna call this Colombiana with love. You know, so that's where it's coming from. But this person is Ingrid, who I call Ingrid the Great, and that great is not to be exaggerated, 100%. So what's up, Ingrid?
Hi, Chad. How are you?
I'm doing well. It's got a cold front coming through North Carolina right now. So it's snowing on this side, not snowing on this side, raining ice right here. So yeah. Um,
Mm.
I've
Well,
been in
it's just another beautiful winter here in Arizona. So,
yeah.
I had a little sweater on, but nothing too cold about it.
Yeah, absolutely. I love Arizona winters. My one of my goals I have is next year. I think around this time next year actually. I'm trying to get like a place for like a year or two just to enumerate and do, some other things part of my plans for the next 5. So, yeah.
Mhm.
So I look
Oh,
forward to that. It's going to be pretty cool.
I have a
Exciting.
few furnished rentals here if you ever just wanna, stay at them.
Yeah.
One of the things about this beautiful state of Arizona is you make your money in the winter. So it's
Mhm.
hard to own a second home here if it's not just a second home because it's hard to rent out in the hotter months. So you make your money in the like not hot months, which is generally November, end of October through the end of March, early April. And then April to October is a little bit difficult to make. You're probably breaking even, maybe losing a little, in
Mm,
those months. That's what's unique about us. So it's hard for me to be like, "Yeah, get a second home," if you can't afford it other
right.
than renting it out because you're gonna wanna be here during the months that you make your money. So,
Yeah.
mhm.
Yeah, that's the goal. It's like if I'm not there, it's like okay, whatever. If it's doing something to withhold it, to
Yeah.
where I'm okay with it.
Yeah,
You
let's
know what I
do
mean?
it.
Yeah.
I will say you said something really important at the beginning of this podcast, and I really appreciate that you kind of highlight that and that there's just not enough women in this male dominated
Hmm.
industry. But it's not because it has not magically appeared. It's really because women had a hard time even having their own credit cards up until the 1970s. So if you really think about it, we've only really been able to work within a more open system since the 80s as women.
Hmm.
Um, and so that's what, 50 years? That's not a lot of time. I'm about to be 43, like
Hmm.
literally as old as I am is really when women had the ability to own real estate without having to let their husbands, you know, provide permission. So now my husband's like, babe, did we buy a house? Did we sell a house? I mean, like literally, he will
Yeah.
find out that I bought a new flip through Instagram before I even get a chance to talk to him. And
So
I
cool.
love that. That's the blessing of what we live with now. And really, women should be taking more advantage of it and understand that the history is really what's impacted us, right?
Hmm.
So, mhm.
100%. And it's kind of like the thing, like what's for you is going to be yours. You just walking into the frequency of it, and you eventually get it. As long as you continue to like go forward towards the thing. And I love seeing it. It's so many things I can highlight when it comes to women and the obstacles and things like that.
Oh,
You know what I
yeah.
mean? So,
Mhm.
I definitely appreciate that, that you here want to take the time out to share the things that you have because you do things. That's the beautiful thing about real estate. It's what I've learned. It's so many ways we can talk about how to make money. So
Yeah.
many,
Yeah.
but it's about finding your lane, your purpose, your passion,
Mhm.
and that thing for you, I done seen it mature like from afar and up close. Because when I'm there, I'm normally reaching out to you, and when I'm afar, I'm texting you about stuff, right?
Mhm.
But just watching your stuff from social media and just your whole ascension through it, it's fixing and flipping, it's buying and holding, it's lending, it's different high level ways. What's the thing that's kind of like, okay, this is what I love to do? My passion. It's a Japanese word called ikigai. I've been on this word and it's really profound. You
Yeah.
dig into it and it talks about that, like that passion, you know?
That's so funny you asked me this question because yesterday, I was in our owners club Zoom with Pace Morby, the guy who's like sits behind me. I put this picture behind me on purpose to remind me that no one in this industry works as hard as that man, and he's
Mhm.
watching over whether or not I'm putting in the work.
Yeah,
You know what I'm
I got
saying?
the same thing right here.
Yeah.
Okay. I wish about my thing so you can see what I'm doing to my studio, but literally the same thing when he's signing
Yeah.
it right
Yeah.
now. So 100%.
So he's been a great inspiration, a great mentor. I'm very, very grateful to just how much time and attention he's poured into me. Like it's literally like I'm very, very blessed. But yesterday when we were on that Zoom, he was talking about how do people know you? Because your brand is what people say behind your back, right?
Mhm,
That's
mhm,
really your brand. Whether you like it or not, that's your brand.
mhm,
And I one of the things that he was talking about is specialties, right? Like you have your people who are focused on RV parks, mobile home parks, people who are focused on fixing and flipping, buying and holding. And the reality is I've dabbled in a lot of things. And
mhm,
so I'm known more as a problem solver versus a very specific strategy. And it made me reflect a bit about who I've always been. And I've played sports. I'm super competitive. And every time I've played a sport, I have been someone that my coach can count on to play wherever he needs me or she needs me. I didn't have a whole lot of she coaches, but I had a lot of he coaches. And I was actually one of the first girls to play I was the first girl to play football for my high school team. There was another girl too, but she hurt herself before she officially played, so I got to be the first girl to play high school football. And
mhm.
even when I played high school football, I played defense and offense, and I was a starter.
Yeah,
Um,
okay.
like, the competitive nature in me has always been, I know my shit and I will do it well, if
100%.
I'm going to commit to something, right?
Mhm,
And so when I entered into sub 2, one of the beautiful things about this community was that I could learn it all because that's how the community is set up. You could learn to wholesale, which by the way, at that point, I've had my real estate license for 7 years, never even heard of wholesaling. I know that in this post-pandemic world where everybody found wholesaling on YouTube, people are like, "How have you not ever known about wholesaling?" Well, I promise you that that just was not the market pre-pandemic. Plenty of agents still don't know what wholesaling was or is
mhm,
because we have such a strong market in Arizona that traditional buying is just more commonplace.
mhm,
So I learned wholesaling, I learned how to fix and flip, I learned how to buy and hold, and I learned creative finance. And I was like, how the heck? I had no idea what I was investing into. And because I've already sort of primed my RAS, as they say, reticular activating system, like the things I look to go and do,
mhm,
I found it was like a playground for me and my personality because whatever I pick up to do, I will do well, and it doesn't matter what it is. Now, that doesn't help you when you're trying to, like, specialize. I grant it, I understand that, because it's hard for me to find a specialty, but I did find something that I wanna focus for the next 5 years, because a part of it was also finding your Mount Everest. Did you work on your Mount Everest, Chad?
Yeah, mine is co-living and licensed homes. So I
Mhm.
got one of them is coming Thursday and it'll be done. But after it's done, we get our provider number, and from there it's like so many amazing stuff. It's tied to what I say, ikigai, what gets me up, what helps me. My
Yeah.
thing is help. I always identified I'm like you. I'm a problem solver, but I love to help people.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah, so
That's
sorry I
wonderful.
didn't mean to interrupt.
No, no, you weren't interrupting. This is exactly what it is. So I also found where I want to niche down, and it allows me to continue to deploy all the ways that I am
Hmm.
the utility player of real estate, right? I don't know if you played like baseball or softball, the utility player. You
Hmm.
put them as a catcher, they know what to do. Maybe you put them in third base, they know what to do. Center field, they got you. That's me. I am the utility player of real estate. And so, in the niche that I'm now focusing in, I can still deploy all the skills that I've banked up. Um, so, my Mount Everest is in the next 5 years is to help 1,000 seniors transition from their personal home into long term care using creative solutions.
Hmm.
And so what are some of the requirements? So the senior would have to own their own home and are looking for more elevated care in order for them to find a solution with their personal home. So I will help them by buying their property. I will give them an interest-free down payment assistance if they need to move into that long-term care, whatever it is. It might be assisted living, it might be independent care, it might be skilled nursing center.
Hmm.
So those are all areas of care that seniors who have an elevated need will go into. Independent care is what it is. It's way more independent, but it's like built-in hospitality. So their food is cooked for them, but they get to free roam and even leave the premise whenever they like.
Hmm.
Um, those tend to be the ones that we help the least because they generally have all the support they need and usually the means to do that. But people who are need assisted living, who need memory care, who need skilled nursing, like those are folks who we tend to need us more. And though and so because these seniors have their own different needs, the way I can deploy my skills is broad. I'm a licensed agent in the state of Arizona, so I can list their home if their home is in perfectly good condition. I
Hmm.
am a fix and flipper, so if their home is in terrible condition, I can give them the cash value of their home, flip it, and make my money that way. But then they make the money they need in order for them to get the care they deserve. I'm a buy and hold investor. So if the best way is for me to give them a cash deal, the house is in okay order or rentable order, but maybe not listing, like I can deploy any of those solutions. So I can give them an installment payment every month of their equity so that they have something that they can actually work with every month to pay or complement to pay the services they need. um, because I'm now a life insurance agent, I
Hmm.
can also provide long-term care insurance, which is something I didn't even think I was able, like, I didn't even know it came with my license. I'm doing life insurance
Hmm.
referrals because, I do infinite banking, and so I was like, "What? Wait, I can also sell this? Oh my gosh, this is another thing I can include in my suite of services." My
Hmm.
husband has his, mortgage license now and can do reverse mortgages. So if these seniors actually want to stay home and not sell their home and they have enough equity and they all they need is resources for somebody to come and take care of them in their home because that's where they want to pass away, I can
Hmm.
also help. So it's like I'm the one-stop solution giver for these seniors. So my wait, what's that Japanese word again?
Ikigai.
Ikigai is
Yeah.
helping 1,000 seniors in the next 5 years because I'm so full of solutions, I'm spilling over that, and those are the people who need someone like me.
Yes. That's verticals. I love
Yeah.
it. However, when you were saying it was just like a circle. Everything I was saying was okay. You start here, if and I just can put you in this bucket because it's all about help. You know,
Mhm,
it's so
mhm.
interesting how once we think of what your skill set is and what you have identified with self as a problem solver, a lot of people don't utilize that first thing. That should always be the first point of action. It's like, what's the issue, not what I'm about to make, right?
Correct.
Because it
Mhm.
it throws you off, and you a lot of times you throw it away. Like, "Oh, no, I don't want anything to do with that." Not realizing you just search for the problem, it's now connects you with different things, you know? That's what I love about the whole thing you were saying, and how
Mhm.
you utilize the thing that's already there, your license, as well as the plethora of skills when it comes to real estate investing, and just, "Hey, this population, I can help." And this is how not only whatever issue it makes it to where if you need to transition into a long care facility or one of my homes you can turn into whatever, I can provide it for you. Money
Mhm.
won't be an issue. Your house
Mhm.
is the thing that can make it affordable. So I love that. And then incorporating your husband into it with reverse mortgages, which people kind of I get them all the time. And I'm telling people about them, and that's I have actually helped the guy out with that because again, problem solving it ain't about the house all the time. It's the individual with me, 100%. And
Yeah.
he had it going on, and he didn't know that he had to go pay his taxes. Like, they're not paying it anymore. You have to go to the county and have someone do it. And I just identified that, or you have to sell it, you know? So having that thing, man, it's like, I love that, you know? So,
Yeah. For
and it,
sure.
yeah, it kind of goes like my idea, thought process with it as well with like when I speak about the licensed homes, that means that each thing has different. You got all these services, and it ties like I'm not doing this service because I want some money from it. Like no, I want to do it because it's helping something. You know, when it comes to IDD or youth coming out of the foster system or those coming from prisons even and giving them a skill set of what I know, like a curriculum. That's one of the things. Like it's really intricate what I have going on. So I'm really looking forward to that and watching your journey with that as well. That's gonna be like awesome because senior is one part of it too.
I love that, and I love that you said verticals. So, one of the things first of all, right, the plethora of solutions for them, it's really a buffet, right? They're like,
Hmm.
"Which one of these solutions solve my problem?" And to be honest with you, and I'll say this with all ego if I must,
Yes,
if
absolutely.
you have if you are a motivated seller, I have your solution.
Hmm.
If I don't have your solution, you're not a motivated seller. That's the way I see it because I know so many ways to fix problems that if it's not fixable through my resources, you're just not a motivated seller at the end of the day. Like that's the way that I see it. Even in the space of which I'm focusing is which is seniors, the people who
Hmm.
need these resources the most, right? The world is changing so fast, even for me, that I can't imagine how they're feeling or experiencing the world from what they grew up from. And I was a
Hmm.
caregiver for over 8 years. My mom is still a caregiver. So for me, this comes very natural. Like I love working with seniors and I love um that that this is the population that I was influenced and cared for as a young college kid because that's really when I primarily had my role as a caregiver. It allowed me a lot of latitude to go to school and still pay for school because I got into school, but then I was like, "How am I gonna pay for this?" Right? FAFSA helped me a bit, like some
Yeah,
of the grants that came through that. But I was a working college student, so it took me 8 years to finish my college education, but I finished it, you know?
yeah,
Again, if I start something, I'm finishing it. So, yeah.
absolutely.
Mhm.
What you with the college for? What was the thing that you picked up the good degree?
So I'm a justice studies major with a minor in small business management. I thought that I was going to be a lawyer, so I was pre-law, getting ready
Mhm.
for my LSATs, so that or not my LSATs. What is it called again?
Uh,
It's what you
I know what
prep.
you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's called the GMAT? No, I can't think of it right now. I'm too old now. It's been
Yeah.
too long. So,
Yeah.
um, Yeah, I was preparing to go to law school, and one of my best friend's dads at the time, who was a law school professor, said, "Ingrid, you're not going to enjoy it, and I don't think law school's for you." My regret was listening to him because I really do think that I would have done well as a lawyer.
Mhm.
However, he knew that I was an empath, right? Like, if you suffer, I suffer. And
Yeah.
learning so much about the system while I was at Arizona State getting my justice studies major, I recognized how terrible the system that is meant to protect, right? Um, was not. Like,
Mhm.
I was very much disenfranchised with everything I was hearing because I was like, wow, there's so many people who um, get caught up in the system, and it's so much easier, and I understand this, but it's so much easier for lawyers and police officers to team up, prosecution, to team up and really take pleas and figure things out before you really go through the court process,
Mhm.
and especially those who don't have the means to defend themselves. And I know what people can say, and they're like, "Oh, well, they should just find somebody willing to do like a court appointed lawyer or somebody willing to do things for free." That's not easy to come by, and your freedom is tied to that. So it's way easier on the system if
Mhm.
people who are indicted with anything just take a plea because it's more costly to actually take it through the due process,
Mhm.
and prosecutors know that, police know that, and so I feel awful. I was like, "Wow, like, we're set up, we're set up." Like, whether
Yeah.
somebody's guilty or not guilty is not what I am implying here. It's just it's easier to take a plea bargain, and those who are, middle class or less in terms of a financial, background, it's just easier to plea.
Yeah, 100%. And hearing that, and I can see that, like what you're doing now with your real estate, how that ties into like your former self, like in terms of what you went to school for, your feelings towards others and everything. And that's
Mhm,
important to have um that connection with what you're doing. Cause that's again I say motivation is a thing that comes and goes, like 100%. But
mhm,
your discipline is what carries you through. And discipline, a lot of times, is doing stuff you don't like to do, but then it
mhm,
becomes a thing that you love. So if you
mhm,
got something ingrained into you, like, hey, I'm naturally vibrant or not, because I'm like that. I tell people that all the time. Like, it's hard for me not to, if I'm sitting on a call with you and you don't get it, Imma stay on with you for 3 hours, right? And I might be dead tired, but it's hard for me not just to let you go, right?
yeah,
And I think that's what done helped me succeed as well, to continue to
yeah,
push forward on stuff, so that's cool. I never knew that. So I like these things. I get to learn additional stuff, you know?
yeah,
We going
Chad,
about
I'm that person too. Remember when you got in
yeah,
that cold plunge? I didn't leave you.
right, yeah, right. You was there holding me, I'm clenched stuff and everything, and it was like a side that was soothing, you know? That's what me and, Isla and all of them. She's so cool. I love watching your daughter too, man. And you could tell her personality. I just and your whole family, of course. Mark, that's like my man. You know, it's good
Mhm,
people. I think about that a lot when I'm at home. I'm also when I'm here, not around a ton of people because they don't do what I do. So I'm
mhm,
conscious of like what you're sharing, the thoughts, the conversations, and stuff like that. And so I
mhm,
had to hop on Zoom to really connect with a lot of people, or when I'm in Charlotte and stuff like that. But I think about this like, man, like the people like a Ingrid or Mark, when I'm thinking of coming knocking out the blue, just text them, and she'll give it back. Or I text Mark, and we just like we been talking to each other every day. You know what I mean? And it
yeah,
started from a female. I think about that so much, right? We the only one sitting in there in suits, and we trying to figure out if we overdressed, and that's how we connected.
yeah,
That's
you and
too
Mark,
funny.
yeah, you guys were
Yeah,
overdressed, but you looked great. Uh-huh,
yeah, we was doing our thing for sure.
mhm,
But do your thing with the seniors. That's so cool, man. Like to have to give it that place and that comfort, because like you say, the world is moving. I feel like it's changes every 2 weeks now. It used to be like a couple months, then you see something. Now you see a 2 weeks change. I was just seeing something where ChatGPT, for example, is getting to the point where it can now mimic the human, like it can learn, right? And they say they're ready to release it. That's so serious if you don't like people that's not utilizing these tools yet. Like
Yeah.
certain things you won't have to do. You can just learn it on your own. I do so much with it, like it's insane, you know?
Yeah.
Like so how do you go about like when you seeing all the changes and with the businesses, like just with real estate too, I think it's gonna look different. But just sticking with what you are doing, the how would you go about constantly saying, "Hey, this is the route I'm gonna take to reach out to these seniors if things continue to change?" Like, how do the getting in touch with them and making say, "Hey, this is the things that I can provide you."
Right. Well, let me clarify something because I love when people bring me into the conversation with seniors, but generally that's not the starting point.
Mhm.
So, my business model is direct to business. So, think
Mm.
about like direct to seller, direct to agent. Technically, direct to agent is direct to business. So,
Mhm.
my business model is direct to business. So, I reach out to senior facilities. So,
Mhm.
um, think the independent living spaces, the spaces where you have assisted living. I actually am a landlord of a residential assisted living. So
Mhm.
even my operator there, that's her business, it's not my business. I'm just
Mhm.
her landlord. I even told her, "Hey, if you ever get a family reach out to you and they need to figure out what to do with their personal home so that they can get to your facility, reach out to me. I can help you with that." So reaching out to assisted living places, even smaller ones, reaching out to placement agents, people who are case managers, like people who are finding these houses for these seniors because somebody has brought them that lead, hospitals. So these are all businesses. They're not
Mhm.
seniors, but they're businesses that deal with seniors. And so one of the biggest business problems for them is that once a senior has identified that, you know what, I need a different kind of care now. I'm now at beyond retirement age. I need somebody who can more closely monitor what I'm up to so that I'm safe. Um, it takes them on average 6 to 9 months post making that decision. And
Mm.
at that point, they've already identified one or two places they'd like to move to. And so the biggest hurdle for these businesses, right? Placement agents, senior facilities, hospitals, even hospitals, and I can give you a story about that. Um, they need somebody to help them facilitate that transition for that senior. And it's not that they may come from a family that isn't loving to that senior. That may not be the case. There's extremes on everything, but that may not be the case. But imagine your mom, right? Or your dad, or your uncle, or your aunt. Like somebody needs your help. You have zero experience on how to get them into that facility, what things they need to know and understand. What if they need Medicaid? If they need Medicaid, or like um, here in Arizona, Alltex, which is Arizona benefits that you get. Basically, it's senior welfare so
Mhm.
that you can afford to go to a place that, has more care for you. If you don't know those things, it feels overwhelming as somebody trying to help a senior because you're learning them for the very first time and you're not sure all the steps that need to be taken. And so, someone like myself, I can step in and tell you, okay, one of the very first things we need to do ASAP is get a trust in place because without this trust, you will have limitations on what you can do should something happen to your loved one. Like you will have extreme limitations. You might need a health directive in place. So, because maybe one is not in place, because they may or may not need that should they get sicker, right?
Mhm.
Um, and those are things that you want to take care of right away. But if you don't understand the resources and the steps to take, those can take a longer time that they should, and oftentimes they actually have to sell their home in order for those things to be paid for. A trust is not free, a directive is not free, although the resources we have can help us make them compellingly cheaper.
Mhm.
And then all the stuff. There's so much stuff that we collect throughout our lives, and so do our loved ones. And so, like, is grandma keeping her recliner? Because we had a story for a gal who was coming from the hospital. She was only supposed to be there 2 days. She ended up being there almost on the 28th day. They contacted us. They needed help to have um, that lady, like, get somewhere because the hospital could not release her to go home. Unfortunately, um, she was beyond her ability to go home, and it was a liability for the hospital to release her to go home. And so they called on Steven at the time. Steven reached out and was able to get her out of the hospital the very next day. What did she need? She needed down payment assistance of only $5,000. He was able to review her manufactured home that was on owned land. So she owned the land that her manufactured home was sitting on. He contacted me to help him buy the manufactured home. So I had the money, the private money lender, to just buy it cash. So we were able to contract with her. Within 2 weeks, she had her cash, and that now gives her the ability to pay for that living care.
Mhm.
And we were able to take that burden off the business, which was the hospital, um, and be able to transition her into a safer space. So, literally within 1 day, we were able to execute that, because her family didn't want to help her. Unfortunately, we all have family drama. We don't know what her drama was. That
Mhm.
wasn't what we were there for. Um, we were there to help her get to a safer place. So,
Yeah, that's
mhm,
amazing. That
mhm,
speed of it too, and,
mhm.
again, the resources that come along with that,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah. All
and
she wanted was her 2 recliners and her personal clothes.
yeah,
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 yeah.
I love that. That's so good. So, I have a unlicensed arm too, right? With a partner, she's been doing it, and I'm a who not how person to like a whole nother level. I don't want anything in my business just to be me, like nothing, you know.
Yeah, yeah. Mhm,
Yeah, and that allows me to do stuff. So one way, and you identify one of them is that we go to like case managers of like hospitals and stuff, and they'll call you like, "Hey, we had this person that's moving out," and the thing that I'm trying to like really get out there as well this year is more so of education, you know? That's why I talk on certain things. I'm like on my like whether it's inside of the community, if I'm on my virtual, I got a virtual meetup time slot as well as the Carolina Zoom. And I'm
mhm,
educating because I'm realizing that even though you are in this communities that I'm in, it's certain level, it's degrees, right? Everybody don't know. Like when I came in, I didn't know all the sub two things, but I
mm,
had my lane. Some
mhm.
people come in don't know what lane it is, and you now have to like, okay, what it is that you want to do and narrow that down. So I'm more so educating. But then you talk to people that you know that can benefit them. Like this stuff will change your life, right? When you think about it, like you holding over 7, 8 figures worth of real estate, and you'll look at me and I'm walking day to day, you will know I don't look nothing like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So it's like how many people that you can help, but then don't have the money for it. So I'm like, okay, you can't afford certain things I pay for. So how can I reduce this price and lower barrier entry? That's one of my goals of this year. It's like how to reduce the amount, the barrier entry of getting into something, but not give it away free. Because again, you don't value that for one. You just don't take action on it, and then two, you can't sustain it. Like I can't sustain it, and I think that's important. It's something that again, I don't know why these Japanese words I've been on lately. What is what they calls yat miru, right? It just basically saying taking imperfect action. That's what it
mm,
comes boils down to. It's kind of like my whole thing. That's how my life has been. If I get an anchor, a thought, I truly believe that is given to me from own high. Like God is giving me this, and He's showing me something that's already mine, right?
Mhm.
So when I'm doing it, I'm gonna just express it, and I'm gonna just do the thing. That's
Mhm.
why like my audio be messed up. My studio ain't put together because if I feel I'm just do it, and then it'll come together. That's how I think. So, but when I'm hearing you, like all of the different skill sets that you have, and able to just keep, adding on to them, say, oh, you can go here, you can go there. That's so cool because that's how I am. Like I can do multiple things at one time. And I get bored if I'm on one thing. Like my mind, I get super bored. I have to innovate it. What would you say? And I know Steven too. Like I'm gonna interview Steven, so I want to like bring him too much up on this right here. Cause I love Steven. Like him and Angel, one of the ones I connected with early on too. But
Mhm.
how would you say that like helps you, to have that ability to just like see it. Cause I feel like if you don't be able to see it, there's no way you can achieve it for one. But you see it vividly. You say, oh, and it's really fast. Like even from your sports, right? For you to play both sides. That's that ties into what you're doing now. You cannot only just um, block or defend or run, you can also defend and take down and run through, right?
Mhm.
Everybody can't do that on a high level, right? You can't. And then
Mhm.
you transfer that same skill here. That's all you're doing. You're saying you seeing this issue this population that you can assist, right? And then so how do you help them mean on defense? How can you play defense with them without which is like if they house go under, if they can't afford to get into these houses, that's playing defense. So you pulling out your resources to make it happen with this one house. Private lender, let's just pay it all off. We got it done in one day. The offense was just finding out the problems. Do you think like, dang, it's so much I want to talk about that. That's so cool. The way I just my brain just was putting that together just now. So it's kind of weird how that was happening. But
Mhm.
that's so interesting, man. Like how you can just see and you saying that's you have identified a lot of people don't have that yet. They don't know
Mhm.
what their purpose is. They don't know how to tap into those things. Is
Right.
that just the early on thing that come from? Because I know you come. How long have you just been here? Like when you come to the states and stuff, what was that path like for you?
I came to the United States when I was almost 7 years old. My stepfather was in the Air Force, and my mom and him married in Greece when she was traveling. My mom left me when I was around 3 years old, maybe slightly younger, um, to find a better life. She
Yeah.
was, I know people love to romanticize what the narcos were doing in Colombia, and they love those stories. I actually refused to watch the show because it brought a lot of destabilization into Colombia, and
Hmm.
it's why it only compounded things there. And I've seen people be shot and killed in my own streets, and so I don't like to glorify those things. I don't think that it helps the psychology of anybody, but as a young person, as a young child, being exposed to that and coming here, I genuinely think that the reason I'm so compelled um, to help the seniors. And the reason I don't know, for me, like my intelligence wasn't given to me. Yeah, right. I didn't get to select my intelligence, right? To your point, this is God given. So I can't let it go to waste. I can't let the fact that I can think strategically and tactically, I can't let that go to waste. I really do feel like it was going to waste in the corporate world that I was in. But when I came here, I was very, very close to my grandmother. My grandmother was my mom to me.
Hmm.
And then she passed away when I was 10. So that was very, very heartbreaking for me. And when I moved to the States, we lived in Italy for a couple of years and then we came back to the States when I was close to 10. Unfortunately, I was in a very abusive family with my stepfather, who was not a very kind person, did things that were not great. And so uh, I am very, very blessed that I had the ability to grow up as a young kid in Colombia, understand the level of love that is available out there
Mhm.
before I came to the States to see the opposite of that,
Yeah.
and I carried a lot of what my grandmother gave me as essentially as a mother more than as a grandmother. And then, um, growing up in my teenage years, the reason I played so many sports is because I also found a lot of love through the friendships I created in sports, like the people who the many girls and guys who showed me that love. Like even playing football, right? Like was one of the best seasons I've ever
Yeah.
had in sports because first I understand the novelty of me playing was so different
Mhm.
that a lot of people in that space were supporting me. And then I actually just recently had a conversation with a guy who was a senior at the time I was a freshman when I was doing this. He's like, they actually behind the scenes, I had no idea, were telling like, they better, like, be kind to me and treat me with respect, and, like, they were setting the culture up at McClintock High School to telling everybody that they better respect me, and I had no idea. I literally just had this conversation just a couple of weeks ago, with Luis, one of the guys who was a senior who I happen to still know,
Yeah.
and, so I don't know what in my brain always chose to look for the love and the positive as somebody who's been through a lot of negative adversity, but that's just the way
Yeah.
I was blessed to be
So, like
built. And so there is sort of this justice piece to me where it's like, I want the best for everyone because so many people, even strangers, wanted the best for me. It's like, that is the definition of love,
mhm.
and and, I'm not a Bible quoter, I don't know how to quote the Bible yet, I'm learning more and more about it, but, you know, I feel like, especially in this community that we've been in, that I see how this comes to life when all you want is the best for so many people. And that's just embedded in my personality, it's embedded in how I do business, and luckily, and I swear it's God's willing that we found this community to find other people who have that same desire.
Mhm.
Um, so again, I grew up in a both loving and not so loving environments, and I chose to take the loving with me because I genuinely think somebody in my experience could have easily taken the I'm giving up, I'm getting into drugs, I'm all this stuff,
Other things.
and I could understand that path, I really could. Luckily for me, I chose to take a different one.
Yeah. I relate to that so much, like
Mhm,
100%. My story is one of the ones that it's kind of like a thing I read the other day. And I appreciate you sharing that. Like the more just today, hearing you talk about not only the things that you're doing, but just your background, just you, the Ingrid, you know what I mean? Because when I'm
mhm,
listening, it's hard. I'm trying to get in interview mode, right? But it's hard when I'm talking to somebody I know and like you really like, oh shoot, and it's the like a connection more to
mm,
you. So
mhm,
from this thing, it's like, dang, I just appreciate you, man. You like one of the ones, like literally that you just click, like, oh shoot, something about this person and that person. You know what I mean? And
mhm,
so I appreciate that. A lot of my story is similar. It's so much that I think it's timing when you share stuff too. Um, that when I'm actually do it, and it comes like people around me know, like I talk about it all the time. Different scenarios, episodes, just the way my life has been and the way of where I'm at right now. You know, and it's the same thing. You can easily could have gave up. I can easily be this thing, right, that I've know so well, right? And just from background, but it's not the same. It's not that. So I appreciate that 100%. It just had me visualizing so much stuff, because everything you talking about is that I've known people that was like right there. So when people are like, for example, when you say you don't look at narcos, that's why I don't look at BMF. You know, it don't. I knew certain ones. I know this one. So it's like that's a lot. I know it's fictionalized, and then it brings you back to a mindset. So I don't. I disregarded it. I don't. I've never looked at. I don't think 2, 3 episodes of it, and it just be boring to me, because it ain't
Mhm.
my thing for one. But
Mhm.
I think it's important, man, like that to people to hear that is not truly how you begin, it's how you end. Like
Mhm.
that's the thing of it. And I believe in God. I believe that you going through life as a search, and I think he's as good. And the things you do may not align with that, and things people do don't align with that. But it's still
Mhm.
you to try to choose that path for good, and then he elevates you. Like if you
Mhm.
look at you right now, like I look at you as one that's like strong, like 100%. Anytime something come up, if it's something intricate, I don't care if it's like you said, infinite banking, IRAs. I can easily text you like, "Hey, what company you thinking?" Like this is the truth thing. What I'm about to tell you too, that's funny what I'm about to lead into. I was thinking I'm about to set my niece up with something. Okay, so what's the best thing? I said, well, maybe Ingrid know. Like you was the first person out of everybody I know. Like, what Ingrid probably doing this? And I was gonna
Mhm.
reach out to you about it. So about
Mhm.
it. But that's so good. I definitely appreciate that, Ingrid. I appreciate your time, your knowledge, just the stuff that you share. It's so much I want to like dissect, but time I'm looking at time like it goes by so freaking fast. And I know you have schedules and stuff like that. But, definitely, I had to probably get a part 2 at some point with
Yeah,
you,
I would love it. I would love
yeah.
it. Absolutely. One thing I do wanna highlight is, I'm really, really grateful that I found Sub 2 because it's where I
Mhm,
found some of my best friends, including you, Chad,
mhm.
and again, it's where I've been able to be me wholly in
Yes.
that we have such a go-giver mentality, but also that I don't feel limited to being somebody who only knows one thing, that I can be the person who knows many things, and I think
Mhm,
maybe what you were trying to highlight is when I think about my brand and how I want people to know me, I want to be the biggest resource for anything someone needs in their financial or real estate needs, right? Like
mhm,
if just like you're mentioning is like what recommendations would you give? And I don't recommend things that I don't do myself.
mhm,
And so I take a lot of pride in that, a lot of honor in that, and a lot of integrity in that. And so that's really who I hope people understand me to be as someone um who does what she says she's going to do, but also someone who, has your best interest at heart.
yes, 100%. I'm the same. Oh, man, that's a whole nother 30 minutes right there. I had some issues with stuff like that. When something don't go right, it's like I'm taking a loss of it because I want you or if you initially about to take a loss on something, Imma make sure you gonna get everything because that's just how I am.
Right.
I don't never wanna be that person, like,
Mhm.
it's so many stuff we can talk about on that. But yeah,
Mhm.
Ingrid, I definitely appreciate it. Again, Sub 2 is definitely the one without that human being of a person in pace, you know what I mean? Like, I text him out the blue a lot of times or just random stuff like, man,
Yeah.
just to have that resource and his vision, of connecting us and man, it's extraordinary what done happened just in 2020.
Yeah.
So the next 5 is just gonna be we say one thing, you don't know what it end up being. We
Oh,
have
yeah, I know.
you know, gonna be this whole other animal essentially. So, but how
Mhm.
do people get in touch with what's the because you have a ton of stuff. I don't know what you're doing in terms of I know you have some mastermind still. Do you still doing those things in Arizona? Or you switching up to like more so intensives?
I don't have a mastermind. Marlon has a mastermind. I helped him be a like I was his operator for it, like
Oh, okay.
helping him
Okay.
put it together. But that's his baby. That's
Yeah.
his thing. And I do love and support him too, right? He and I own that the Mindset Manor here in Gilbert,
Mhm.
Arizona, and it's where we have the masterminds and stuff like that. Um no, the what I'm focused on now is really the helping seniors transition and just be able to deploy myself to be that one-stop agent,
Mhm.
because I have access to all the things, whether it's lending, whether it's, buying the property, whether it's listing it, all of the things. That's what I wanna be. I wanna be the one-stop place to go to.
Mhm.
But the best way to get a hold of me If you have a question around real estate or financing things like life insurance and infinite banking, that sort of thing, is to just get into my link tree or follow me on Instagram. I'm Ingrid with a Y, INGRYD underscore Hernandez. And yeah, that's the best way to reach out.
Perfect. I appreciate you, Ingrid. I know you have a time you got a schedule, and I want to respect that time. But I definitely appreciate this. Has been eye opener. I'm pretty sure the person is gonna people that will listen to this can have an idea of how it's not about going into the thing with like, hey, this is what I'm gonna make, or this is, the check behind it, but focusing on the problem itself, and more so importantly, what you are passionate about always leads to the reward that you're actually seeking, And I think you embody that. The ability to connect with who you are, and then spill that out into just your business that now affects and helps so many people. And like I say, thousand people being helped by that is, but with under that thousand, there's so many like verticals though. Yeah, it
Mhm,
started 1,000, but there's so many things it branches out to. So I'm gonna
mhm.
be excited watching you do it 100%. And I know anything you set off to is definitely gonna go down. So appreciate you,
Wonderful.
Ingrid, and coming on here and blessing us. And oh, one thing we do before we leave, I about
Mhm.
forgot, is one person the guest give something. It could be motivational, inspirational to the crowd, a quote or something like that, and that's what we kind of leave off on. Sorry, I should have told you that initially.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So the quote. Um, this is interesting that you brought this up because this is something I talked to Pace about um, yesterday, which is a quote that is often misquoted. So I'll bring
Mm,
it up. So I want to make sure I get the words all correct. Um, let's see here. So I'm sure you know that people kind of make it bad connotation to be a jack of all trades because they
mhm,
often misquote this quote, which is a jack of all trades, master of none, though oftentimes better than a master of one. So a lot of people say if you're a jack of all trades, it means you're a master of none, but they don't finish the quote. The quote
mhm,
actually finishes, though oftentimes better than master of one. Meaning, if you're a jack of all trades, which is what I consider myself,
mhm.
it's usually better to be a jack of all trades than somebody who only knows masterfully one thing. So anyway, there's your quote.
Love it. Love it. I love that because you're right. People get that wrong all the time. It's so good
Mhm.
you said that. So appreciate you, Ingrid. Again, this is wrapping up episode 9. It's supposed to be episode 11, but we had some glitches. But we're gonna keep going. That's my motto. We're gonna keep going regardless, and it'll all work out. Until next time, Ingrid, I thank you. I appreciate you. I can't say it enough. Sincerely do for you taking your time out and just blessing myself, blessing the audience with this, man. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank
All right,
you.
gang.
It's an honor.
Get to next time. Later.